Great to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, great to have you. So you're the co-founder of Gnosis, which is building full stack decentralization infrastructure and applications for an open internet. So you guys have built Safe, which is your widely used multisig wallet that secures over $100 billion in assets, and CowSwap, which is doing over $10 billion in monthly volume. So have built some important things over the last 10 years. And yeah, I think, you wrote an article kind of reflecting on the last 10 years of this journey. You guys launched shortly after Ethereum. And, I think 10 years is a heck of a run, especially in this messed up ecosystem that we show up in every day. So I guess curious just what's kind of kept you motivated through all these market cycles and wild narrative and technological shifts.
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. So
it's like, why am I crazy?
It's not easy, right? And there are lots of projects that started at the same time as us, and you haven't heard of them for a long time. And I think it's always easy to kind of go through like bull markets, right? Like when everyone's hyped up and you see your products getting real traction and things are going well. So those are the easy times. The difficult times are the bear markets, right? Where like many people say it's great to focus and build. And that's true. But, we have a lot of employees and you have to keep everyone. It's not only about my own motivation, also keeping everyone else like motivated and kind of see the end of the light of the tunnel, basically. And I think nowadays, like if you would run into bear market right now, there would still be users, right? There would still be a significant traction. Whereas a couple of years ago, when you went into the bear market, there was literally not much left. So times were different. What kept me motivating and what I think also allowed me to motivate others was just by picturing painting the bigger picture. Like, where do we want to go from here? What is the end goal? And we are just building the building blocks in order to get to this next, basically the next phase. And there's a benefit of being able to go through those bear markets, because you will be going out of top after the next bull market starts, right? You will have the time to consolidate the feedback and get ready for the time when the next bull market hits. And this turned out to be true, fortunately, especially for Safe and CowSwap, which were in great positions during that time. And of course, we had always the benefit of, basically we raised money in Ether back in the day, and we're doing smart treasury decisions, which allowed us to never worry about funding.
Just holding it. This is smart.
Exactly. We were smart and like selling on the top, right, which allowed us to build through the bear market without ever worrying about this. No one in the company ever had to worry about this up to this date, which gives you some peace of mind, which is also necessary, of course, that you're not gonna kind of have to stop working in the bear market. You can actually make it to the other side, and you can actually succeed.
Money's important. Okay, well, I'm curious about so I think I kicked off saying when I think the first time I heard about Gnosis was in ETH Berlin in 2019. It was a very impactful conference for me. You guys had the big stage, and I think you're talking about prediction markets as a big release there. And it's interesting to see that you're to the big wins, Safe and Cow, were things that you had spun out of Gnosis. And I think you're on record saying that there will be no more spin outs under Gnosis 3.0. So I'm curious if you can unpack both the strategy behind the spin outs and why that's not something you're going to be doing moving forward.
Yeah, also a very good question. So I think Safe and CowSwap, they both became already quite popular during the time they were still part of Gnosis. I think in case of Safe, it was basically an instant success to some extent. The previous product that we released, the multisig, this was used even before we even had audited it by other teams, which was a bit scary, but it just showed that there's an instant product market fit, right? And we just built on top of this, and it was very clear this was already a very successful product at the time of the spin-off. CowSwap was still not the dominant player, obviously, but you could see it's gaining more and more market share. So both teams, they had good already established internal leadership. They were already more autark within Gnosis. And there was a very clear possibility for those projects to raise external funding. And that's why and then there was also the question of like, where do we, Gnosis, internally set our focus? And we evaluate different options. And for us, it was a question of basically focus and opportunity costs. And that's why we decided back in the day, okay, let's have those teams their own like independent life. They will have sufficient funding to do so, and we retain an upside for Gnosis itself. So we made basically agreements that allowed Gnosis DAO to hold significant amount of basically tokens of those projects. Of course, the question always is with every spin-off, is it actually more successful if it's independent, right? And is kind of the ownership that Gnosis retained as part of the spin-off, is it actually compensating for the opportunity that we had there? There are different opinions on this. I think looking back, like I think Gnosis as a DAO would be in a stronger position if it would be very clear these projects are both from Gnosis and there's very clear economic alignment, like even more than it is right now. Just to like, for example, there's World Liberty Financial, right? And they buy all their tokens, EVM tokens via CowSwap, and they store all their assets in safes.
Right.
I'm almost sure they do not know that those two projects actually relate to Gnosis, right? And I think there's a benefit in having everything under one umbrella. It's like, I don't know, Microsoft has their Office suite, right? And many other things that tie together and make sure that those work super homogeneously in one ecosystem. That, of course, is easier to accomplish if everything is kind of under one umbrella. And well, that is an opportunity that kind of we gave up. I mean, Safe and CowSwap do super well. If you look at Gnosis, I think Gnosis could have potentially have a better upside in just keeping them under one umbrella. Anyways, things are as they are, and I'm also happy how those projects are going. But moving forward, yeah, we want to also give the token holders of Gnosis the clarity that this is right now. There's no mission of like making any more spin-offs, but we try to align everything that we have within Gnosis as best as we can.
Does that sort of reflect a shift in maybe what the general belief in around how value is created in crypto projects? Like I think the token launches and sort of owning tokens and owning a basket of tokens maybe was more of a sensible plan over the last couple cycles, and today we're much more in this like show me the revenue, show me the compounding value. Is it a business here?
Absolutely. I think this has shifted a lot. Like, I don't know, a couple of years ago was completely normal. Everyone's just launching another token, and we have another project with another token. And at this point, there's more realization you have to be sustainable long-term, right? You have to play a long-term game. And if you are revenue positive, you have basically unlimited runway, which gives you a lot of flexibility. And sometimes it's better to not have a token, frankly speaking. So yes, I agree very much with your sentiment here. Yeah.
I mean, you guys mentioned ongoing DAO innovation as a core focus looking forward. And I think we're kind of in this place where it feels like everyone's lost interest in DAOs. And maybe from the outside, it seems like we've made very little progress on decentralized coordination. So I'm curious what does ongoing DAO innovation mean to you guys, and where do you see the big opportunities there?
Yeah, so I have to say, yeah, there are very few functioning DAOs in the space. So I would agree with that assessment. However, I think what works well is to receive feedback from the DAO, and that's something that I actually very much appreciate in our DAO. Like to some extent, I feel sometimes our DAO members they're better at scrutinizing like others in terms of what does a DAO get out of this than we do even internally as part of the Gnosis Limited like foundation. And I very much appreciate these points of view, and are also able to diligently analyze like what kind of activities are happening and are they actually at the benefit of the DAO holders or not. So I think there's an actual good feedback loop, which I have not seen in many other projects like operating that well. Of course, the question is always how do you get people enough engaged, and that always comes with some ownerships, right? And I think the problem that we have right now still in DAOs is that basically your voting right is usually very much associated with your holdings in this project. But then for you to be actually caring about something, it's not about, let's say, the total amount of tokens, but rather how much of your net worth is basically in this project, right? Let's say I would own 50% of, I don't know, Aave, but this would be only, I don't know, 1% of my own, of my entire net worth, then I would still probably not care that much about this project. So I think there's an imbalance here that we have to figure out how to treat it better. At Gnosis, what we tried is like finding a better delegation process where like community members which have been trusted by many in the community, they can just receive those tokens and have a bigger voice through this. But I would also say our process itself is also not perfect, so we have to still innovate on this. What I'm very grateful for though is that we have very active community members that really kind of they put us on the spot, which is great, because that's what we need sometimes. Sometimes you're living your own bubble and you don't see things as clearly as they should be.
I'm curious. So the big question, there's like this sense that European startups or European crypto startups just drastically underperform US or maybe Asian-based ones. I think you guys are, an example of the alternative there. But I mean, is there truth in that, or where does the general narrative get it wrong?
I think it's not wrong. And I think it historically is a problem of Europe where a lot of innovation that is not only crypto related, right? A lot of innovation is happening within Europe, but then actually making it commercially successful, this happens in the US or happens also in Asia. And I mean, this is not only Web3. Like, look at the, I don't know, COVID vaccination, right? BioNTech developed the vaccine, and then Pfizer was actually the company basically distributing it worldwide. And if you look at how the market cap of those companies shifted during that time, Pfizer, of course, grew way more than BioNTech did. So this really applies to almost everything in Europe. So it's more like a general problem in Europe. Great tech, great research, but not good at commercializing it. I think in crypto, we have to try to kind of play this our strength. So I would say people recognize Europe is good at research. So basically something from Europe is sort of more trustworthy. Something is made in Germany or made in Switzerland. It carries a lot of trust with it. And I think that is something that in many ways falls short if I look at the American and Chinese or like Asian counterparts. Especially, I don't know, look at FTX, look at the Chinese exchanges. So you have either US very flashy, or you have, let's say, Asian exchanges. Many of them come across as a bit scammy as well. Whereas Europe, I think what we have to double down on is we are like a solid foundation, like you can trust this. And if you go to European product, you will be in good hands. And that's kind of, I think, the narrative that Europe has to double down on, also especially in crypto. So we have to take this to our advantage. I would say to some extent with safes, this already also is the case. So it's obviously a product that requires a lot of trust. And it came, I think, to our advantage that it's based in Switzerland, the foundation is based in Switzerland. Like where the engineering is happening is something that has high reputation, that comes from a lot of history. Obviously, Ethereum Foundation, the main office was a long time in Berlin, where we also worked. All the crypto foundations, most of them are based in Switzerland. A lot of the tech, not only Ethereum, but also many of the other layer one blockchains, a lot of the tech has been developed in Germany. And I think we have to kind of start to benefit from this as well. And that's a narrative game and the way how you present yourself. And that's what we have to get better at.
I'm curious how you think about where Gnosis chain fits into the ecosystem. So I think you guys have 300,000 plus validators. So it's one of the most decentralized networks globally. Like, do you actually see, is that kind of the positioning for it? Do you actually see that contributing to developer interest in wanting to build in the ecosystem, or do you see a different kind of value prop there?
So I would say just the fact that we have a very decentralized system that is as close as possible to Ethereum does not necessarily bring you like developer interest, because what developers care about are adoption and infrastructure beyond this core layer. So that in itself is not bad, but that's not what will make it successful. So what we are actually working on is to actually get traction and get successful is to build a very close ecosystem around payments. And by doing so, we're not doubling down on like trying to convince the big guys to work with us, because that's not going to work. But I also see shortcomings from this, as we saw with Tempo recently. But we try to really build a strong network of small players that have done very great integrations into the local systems, because payments are inherently local. It's nothing where like not the entire world will do all payments in US dollar and not the entire world will build on Circle. And that's something that we realized. That's why we go to all the different countries, find the local players that are relevant, build relationships with them, make sure that we have agreements in place that allow users to easily interact with them, build up liquidity for those assets, and build a strong network that allows remittance and payments that can be done on Gnosis chain. And I think that, again, then fits better in this narrative of being more decentralized. Just as we saw with Tempo, I think if there's one party or one network which is very much let's say influenced by very few payment players, then it's very clear it's very difficult to establish this as a new neutral platform that is at the benefit of everyone, but will just be another version of payments as we have already seen it, just with a, let's say, Web3 friendly API, and that's it. So we try to really position us against this. Sometimes if people ask me what is Gnosis, I tell them we are like the decentralized version of Coinbase. They have Base, we have Gnosis Chain. They have their card, we have Gnosis Pay. They have their exchange, we have CowSwap. They have Coinbase Custody, we have Safe. So we have really tried to build all the other components as decentralized as possible, as open as possible. And of course, we hope that we can be influential in the future. Of course, right now, Base has a lot more leverage. But again, I think it's a very closed ecosystem, and you're basically at the mercy of the shareholders of Coinbase at the end of the day, how they react. And I think that also we see to some extent already playing out.
But maybe last question here, and building on that take. I think you guys were very much born out of the ideological era of crypto, and I think today we're firmly in the commercialization era, where a bunch of companies are making trade-offs that I'm assuming would make you guys squirm, or maybe represent opportunities for counter positioning here. At the high level, I'm curious how you and your team have sort of learned to navigate these market demands of today while also holding on to the core values that got you into the space to begin with.
That's also a very good question, because as you said, we are born engineers, having now to fight in the world basically of marketing, which is not our strong suit. But again, I think there are values which are very much associated with where we come from, which are also important for the next generation of people joining us and users becoming hopefully our users. And I think it's important that they understand how do we differentiate from the competition, and what makes us a more trustworthy party to work with. And I think for crypto, there's still, for many, is still a lack of trust in terms of actually getting into the space and understanding that this is not purely speculation, but there's actually value created. And there, again, I think there's an advantage in not being too flashy and trying to be really solid. But we are very aware that us just building great tech will not bring us any users. So we have to step up our game in marketing and creating awareness. And that's what we're working on right now, very much so. So we're aware of our weaknesses, and we have to turn it our strength. And that's what we try right now.
Have you guys hired your intern?
Exactly.
Your CT lead.
Exactly. Basically that. No, we expand, of course, also way beyond this. But yes, we try to harness as much as we can from what we've already created.
All right, man. I mean, we could probably chat with you for another hour here. I think very interested to see. I mean, can you give us a hint on where you're spending your attention right now? What are the new releases, new products, new things that you're cooking?
Right. So basically we created already the infrastructure that allows a lot of great applications to be running on. And I think there's still a big arbitrage between opportunities on chain and opportunities that, let's say, 90% who have even a Wise or Revolut account. And what we're building right now is a way for everyone to close this arbitrage themselves. So it plays into the role of the on-chain integrations, right? Local payment partners, local on-ramps that have the lowest possible cost for you to actually get exposure to crypto, and then making sure they can benefit from this, and presenting this and offering this in a way that is really user-friendly and has the support so that people can actually feel comfortable using it without worrying about losing access or any such things.
Nice.
And yes, in terms of release, we're working on a consumer-friendly application that will bundle all of those offerings together, which we hope to release in the next couple of months. Hopefully, we have something at DevConnect in Argentina. Might
getting
take
close,
a bit
baby.
It's
getting close.
Yeah, it's getting close. Yes, so I don't want to overpromise.
Awesome, Stefan. This has been a wonderful conversation. Appreciate you hopping on, and we'll be following closely.
Thank you guys for having me. Take care.
See you, man.